Let us now turn to agenda item 16B, independent evaluation of the GCF's health and well-being and food and water security result area. For this, the board has before it documents GCF B.41.07, independent evaluation of the GCF's health and well-being and food and water security result area. The management response to the evaluation is in document GCF B.41.07 Addendum 1. May I invite the Independent Evaluation Unit to introduce this document? Daisuke and Yoni, you have the floor.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Good afternoon, dear members and alternate members of the board, advisors, observers, and colleagues. It's very good to be here. My name is Yeonji Kim, and I am Evaluation Uptake Specialist at the IEU. Today, I would like to present to you the key high-level conclusions and recommendations of the independent evaluation of the GCF's result area titled Health and Well-being and Food and Water Security, together with my colleague, Daisuke Horikoshi, Principal Evaluation Officer. As you can see from the slide, this result area is quite lengthy. Health and well-being and food and water security. So for simplicity, I will be referring to this result area as the HWFW result area. And this was the first IEU evaluation that specifically examined one result area as well as the overall results architecture of the fund. All right. The scope of the evaluation was two-pronged. First, it examined the value of the GCF's result areas approach and investments by taking a closer look at the GCF's overall results management architecture and the HWFW result area itself. The evaluation asked the questions of what do the result areas actually mean at the GCF? And the result areas work for whom and how? Are they applied consistently throughout the project development, implementation, and monitoring and evaluation continuum? The evaluation also assessed the achievements and emerging results of the HWFW result area tagged GCF investments, as well as any key factors that enable or hinder the achievement of results. All right, so these are the 8 result areas of GCF, 4 mitigation result areas, and 4 adaptation result areas. The HWFW result area is the second adaptation result area that's highlighted in maroon in the slide. So the result areas themselves and the way that they are each constructed, they have remained the same over time. However, the results architecture of the fund has historically evolved, and so the positioning or the place of the result areas within the larger results architecture of the fund have also evolved. The result areas approach of the GCF has translated into a type of minimum impact system or minimum results system. The results reporting system of the fund captures only a narrow range of results, while projects may intentionally, explicitly, or implicitly generate other types of results as well. These are not being captured in a systematic manner. So more on this later. And the result areas are often misunderstood as investment guidance, but the investment framework is for investment decisions, and the results framework is for results management. So this tension or confusion remains to be answered. The result areas are also often misunderstood as sectoral considerations, sectors. But this is at odds with the result areas because as you can see from the HWFW result area, the way it's constructed, it tends to encourage a more nexus-oriented approach rather than just doing things in a single sector-based manner. The result areas are not mutually exclusive. In fact, in any single FP, multiple result areas can be identified and selected by the accredited entities. And in fact, many FPs do include multiple result areas at once. That said, this is what the evaluation found about the GCF projects that are tagged with the HWFW result area. As of B40, out of the 286 approved GCF projects, 153 projects had project finance that's earmarked under the result area HWFW. So that's 153 out of 286, that's roughly 53%. These HWFW projects were identified based on the results area percentage information that's available for GCF's financing in the Secretariat's internal data management system, known as the IPMS. Whereas the IPMS data was used in the evaluation, we do recognize that there was some divergence across the data sources available at the GCF when it comes to the result area information. The result areas, as stated earlier, are not mutually exclusive. In fact, many of the 153 HWFW projects do inform other result areas too simultaneously, and this was quite notable between the HWFW and the first adaptation result area, which is livelihoods of people and communities. And given this kind of overlap in the result areas, and given the fact that individual project activities and project outcomes are often matched with multiple result areas, this makes it very difficult to isolate results at the individual result area level, including for the HWFW result area. Here is a list of key conclusions that we would like to highlight today. This is not exhaustive, but this is really a crucial and the key conclusion message. And you can focus on the keywords that's captured in the circle at the center. When it comes to the relevance of the HWFW result area and investments, the projects are regarded as highly relevant and they are valued in many countries. They are generating some important results on the ground, but these results obtained have little to do with the GCF's results areas approach. That's inconsequential to the achievement of results. And the role, when it comes to the role and purpose of the result areas, it's not so clear to the GCF stakeholders. So because there is limited guidance when it comes to the result areas application, this has led to some inconsistencies when it comes to selecting result areas for the FPs, which then has led to some inconsistencies in the results data being reported by the entities as well. Thirdly, there is no systematic approach to capture and aggregate results, particularly the various types of co-benefits that are being generated through the GCF investments. No systematic way to capture and aggregate these results and co-benefits at the fund level to date. And when I say co-benefits, I mean the various types of benefits that could be economic, environmental, social, co-benefits, as well as gender and social equity related co-benefits, including for marginalized groups, the IPs, and young people. These are being generated, but not until recently, co-benefits reporting was mandatory by the AEs. Lastly, health and well-being. The health and well-being facet of HWFW is not very actively considered in the Integrated Results Management Framework, IRMF. There is no tracking indicator for health-related impact of GCF investments. So there is an underrepresentation of health-related impact. And another important fact is that the concept of well-being, how well-being is different from health, that is not clearly defined anywhere. So delving into the first conclusion at a deeper level, when it comes to the relevance of the HWFW projects, they are seen as highly relevant by NDAs and focal points, and they are generating some important results on the ground. Many HWFW projects are in fact agriculture projects or water projects, and very few of HWFW projects are in fact health and well-being projects. So when it comes to agriculture, the health the HWFW result area tagged projects have notably supported climate smart and climate resilient agriculture through the distribution of drought resistant crops, the introduction of new practices and technologies that work in local contexts, and the support for the diversification of production. Based on our portfolio analysis and country case studies, this was particularly common in the LDCs and the African states. When it comes to water, various aspects of water security are being addressed, including more reliable access to clean water and enhanced quality and resilience of water-related infrastructure. And these are being achieved through hard project components, including the construction of climate-resilient water assets and infrastructure. This was particularly common in the small island developing states. So there are very few health and well-being projects as such in the portfolio. However, health and well-being related benefits from the increased food or water security of HWFW are being generated, such as the lower risk of waterborne diseases and improved mental and physical health, better nutrition, and better quality of life. These are widely seen as co-benefits, that's a GCF terminology, co-benefits of GCF's funded activities, but these co-benefits are being generated across the mitigation and adaptation spectrum, not just unique to the HWFW result area. Lastly, the HWFW projects have also enhanced the community's resilience, including that of farming communities, through weather forecasting, early warning systems, and disaster risk reduction. The second key conclusion is that the purpose and the role of the GCF's result areas are insufficiently articulated and understood across the GCF ecosystem. There is little shared understanding of what the purpose of the result areas is and what it should be. This is not so well understood. And when it comes to the use of result areas in project origination, it's also rather limited. The AEs and countries tend to develop projects in a sector-based manner, although the result areas, they were developed with the intention of promoting a more integrated nexus-oriented approach. The role of the result areas seems to be diminishing in the results management architecture of the fund. The GCF's story of impact and paradigm shift can now be told without necessarily referring to the result areas. There are practical challenges in isolating results of one result area from the other result areas, and there are inconsistencies and discrepancies in the data categorizing projects into the result areas. So there are some projects that appear very, very relevant to HWFW, but these are not tagged with the result area HWFW. And sometimes the FP may say something, but then this result area information does not match to what's available in the GCF's data system. That said, I'm going to now invite my colleague, Daisuke, to go over the rest. Daisuke, over to you.
Thank you, Yonji. Moving on to another area of conclusion. In addition to the challenges in isolating and aggregating results specifically from HWFW result area, the evaluation found there is no systematic approach to capture and aggregate co-benefits generated from the project at the fund level. HWFW result area tagged project generate co-benefit, while other projects also generate co-benefits, and the result relevant to the aspect of health, well-being, food, and water security. Also, mitigation projects often report on adaptation co-benefits, which might be relevant to these aspects. However, the current result management system at the GCF doesn't allow us to aggregate report these co-benefits at the fund level. HWFW result area specifically, there is no tracking indicator for health-related impact under the current result management system. Also, any indicators relevant to well-being is missing at this moment. In Integrated Result Management Framework, IRMF, there are two supplementary indicators relevant to the HWFW result area focusing on beneficiaries of improved food and water security. Due to the absence of any health-related indicator that existed in the earlier RMF, GCF has diminished its ability to track health-related impacts, although the global call for action on the health climate change nexus has become louder. I don't repeat these conclusions, but These set of conclusions lead us to key area of the recommendation. To begin, the result areas have remained unchanged since they were approved just ahead of GCF initial resource mobilization period. Since then, there have been many developments at the GCF in the areas of reformulating its strategic directions and result management. Over this dynamic period, the evaluation finds that the GCF's assignment of purpose and the role of result area have lost some of its natural alignment to the GCF result monitoring and reporting functions. Therefore, the evaluation firstly recommends that the board may wish to re-articulate the purpose and use of result areas across the entire GCF's ecosystem. And in collaboration with the Secretariat and on the basis of this re-articulation, reformulate them accordingly. The recommended actions include revisiting the result areas as part of the review of the integrated result management framework, which is scheduled for 2026, to examine the fundamental roles of result areas in the entire GCI ecosystem. Working closely with the Secretariat, the board should identify and reconcile competing or overlapping concepts and frameworks related to result management practice at the GCF, such as the integrated result area approach or more sector-oriented approach and broader level of result monitoring with wider adaptation and mitigation indicators or detailed result measurement reporting with more specific result indicators. The GCF should engage with other actors in climate finance for complementarity and coherence when it reviews result areas. After the first recommendation is taken, the subsequent recommendations should be considered by the Secretariat. Based on the review of result areas by the board and the re-articulation of the role of result areas, the Secretariat should provide comprehensive guidance on the use of result area internally and externally while taking into account existing manuals and guidelines. Apart from the review of result areas, the Secretariat should conduct quality check of the data registered in the result management system on a regular basis. This would address inconsistency and discrepancy between the information in funding proposal and the data registered in the result management system. The evaluation also recommends the Secretariat should advance its monitoring and reporting practices to capture core benefits generated from GCF investments. The GCF should provide capacity building support to accredited entities for effective monitoring and reporting of core benefits. Additional capacity strengthening support for monitoring and reporting for accredited entities and implementing partner is required to ensure that outputs and outcomes are properly captured and are not perceived as optional. Last but not least, the evaluation recommends the Secretariat should take note of global calls for greater integration of health in climate finance programming and reflect it in its result management. The Secretariat might want to consider having one or more health-related result indicators in its result management framework if HWFW result area remains. This ends our presentation today. Thank you very much. Back to co-chair.
Thank you very much. I now give the floor to the Secretariat to present the management response. Oscar, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Co-Chair. I have the pleasure to present the key highlights from the management response to the independent evaluation of GCF's health and well-being and food and water security results area. I will call it, for further simplification, second result area. The Secretariat welcomes the evaluation, which assesses the outcomes of GCF investment within the results area and provides valuable insights into GCF results framework and system-wide improvements. I will start by highlighting our general response to the findings and recommendations from this evaluation. First, the Secretariat welcomes the evaluation's findings that the health and well-being, food and water security projects contribute to a paradigm shift towards low-carbon, climate-resilient, sustainable development. We also recognize that health programming is underrepresented within the results area. In response, GCF has accelerated its pipeline for climate health adaptation project, now with more than $500 million in the pipeline over the next 3 years. Second, the Secretariat acknowledges the broader challenges related to the GCF results area approach and stands ready to work with the board upon its decision to review the results area approach. Third, we agree with the evaluation's conclusions that lessons from this results area can inform broader improvements across all results area, which is particularly relevant for improving our ability to report on results and impact. Now, let me offer a brief summary of our responses to the specific recommendations. While the first recommendation is not applicable to the Secretariat, since it was directed to the board, we stand ready to support the board. The recommendation 2 provide internal guidance on the use of the results area and revisit the results reporting system. First, on guidance. The GCF has developed 10 sectoral guidance, including one for health and well-being, one for water security, and one for agriculture and food security. The Secretariat will assess whether updates of these sectoral guidelines are needed. Second, on data management. Our Department of Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning is addressing key challenges in data availability, quality, and accountability. Steps are already underway, including regular updates to the portfolio management system, revision of the annual performance report format, where we can capture better the co-benefits and start systematizing them in an integrated manner. And thirdly, by incorporating third-party data validation, and we started for the 2024 approved funding proposals. Moving to the next recommendation to operationalize the use of results area in the country level and for accredited entities, the Secretariat is working with the board. We'll ensure a cleaner definition of the results approach and communicate it effectively to NDA's focal point and accredited entities to integrate results area into country programming, project pipelines, and accreditation process. We will also assess how results areas can align with national priorities and structure investments while ensuring flexibility in implementation. With regard to recommendation 4, advanced GCF monitoring and reporting practices on cross-cutting priorities and co-benefits. Cross-cutting priorities such as gender, indigenous peoples, and environmental and social safeguards must be integrated more effectively. Under the new organizational structure, the Sustainability and Inclusion team in the Office of the Chief Investment Officer and the Office of the Chief Investment Officer are providing closer, tailored support to project operations into these themes. And allow me to address also the question of the indigenous peoples champions, because we think that the new head for sustainability and inclusion, which will come to the board in March, can play such a championing role. Going back to this evaluation, the IRMF review will include refining methodologies to measure indicators, including for co-benefits. And to support accredited entities, the Secretariat will explore opportunities to enhance capacity building support on results area. Finally, on the recommendation 5, we take note of the global calls for a greater integration of health in climate finance programming. We have been already taking steps, including identifying health-related indicators and develop a uniform approach to track health co-benefits across mitigation and adaptation results area. Through these actions, the Secretariat is committed to working closely with the board, NDAs, accredited entities, and partners to strengthen the purpose, use, and impact of results area, ensuring they are effective, country-driven, and aligned with global climate finance priorities. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Oscar. There's been an emergency. That's why Leif had to leave the room. You'll be back shortly. There's one request for the floor. Ayub?
Yeah, thank you, Co-Chair. First, I'd like to thank the IEU and also the Secretariat for both presenting the evaluation and also the response to the evaluation. I want to just state some reflections on the record on with regards to this evaluation. First, on the element of sectoral guides, the response of the Secretariat in the first recommendation is to assess whether to update the sectoral guides, but in the same board meeting, the Secretariat has advised apparently that we should conclude the mandate of the sectoral guide. So these are two conflicting messages from our side. And further on the sectoral guides, I think from USP 2, we shifted from the sectoral approach that we had in USP 1, where the idea of a sectoral guide was kind of initiated in the discussions on USP 1, and now we're focused on an outcome-based approach with our targeted results. So we favor going into this outcome-based approach rather than having kind of a dual approach within the Secretariat, where on one hand there are sectoral guides that have not been presented and approved by the board, and on the other hand we have targeted results that we're looking at to prioritize our pipeline in terms of funding proposals. So there's kind of a duality here. It needs to be reconciled, and perhaps when we have a discussion on the conclusion of mandates, we could explore how to move to this outcome-based approach rather than this that's more consistent with the USP2. Now on the conclusions, just briefly, we want to cover a few elements. So on recommendation 1.4 from the IEU, we would caution against attempting to adopt or promote the adoption of MDB approaches wholesale. We're not an MDB, we're an MCF. We have a specific mandate and context and governance structure. So we would caution against that, and note for the record that our kind of disagreements with that one. On recommendation 5, on the integration of health and climate finance programming, we think the rationale shouldn't be it's because of global calls. It should be a demand side thing. It should respond to country needs. So if this, we understand that this is a need for many countries. So I'm just here correcting perhaps the rationale of why we should be doing this. On 5.1 in particular, talking about considering having indicators in the RMF. Of course, this is something that the board will have to decide. But our view on this is we should probably wait and see if we get to this action at some point in time. The developments on the global goal on adaptation that's being discussed currently as one of the thematic targets under the global goal on adaptation is attaining resilience against climate change related health impacts, promoting climate resilient health services, and significantly reducing climate related morbidity and mortality, particularly in the most vulnerable communities. So this has already been stated as a focus area, and let's see what indicators they have potentially before having this discussion, just to make sure that we are moving on the right path here. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. I then give the floor to Sandra.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. We welcome the evaluation, and we equally welcome the constructive comments by Secretariat. We agree that there is really merit in looking at re-articulation of the purpose and formulation of the results areas. I think it comes out very well in the evaluation. For water specifically, we think it would be good if GCF could look into a better distinction between large infrastructure water projects and WASH, WASH being the acronym for water, sanitation and hygiene. The effect of WASH can also be partly justified under health, but as the evaluation has shown that health has no clear outcomes, it's really important to look into this. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you, Sandra. Vittorio, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair. We appreciate the work done from the IEU for this comprehensive and insightful thematic evaluation, which represent a significant step in assessing the effectiveness of GCF's result areas. We recognize the importance of this area-based evaluation approach in improving our understanding of how the GCF's governing instrument investment framework translate into programming outcomes. The evaluation highlights a key observation. Historically, the results area framework has been used primarily for data aggregation rather than guiding project origination and implementation. This finding raises important questions about the effectiveness of results areas in shaping investment priorities. This finding raises important questions about the effectiveness of results areas in shaping investment priorities and monitoring long-term impact. For instance, we seek further clarification on how the IEU actually visions rearticulating the purpose and use of result areas across the GCF system as per recommendation 1. We then welcome the emphasis these teams have as a priority investment area. The evaluation findings reaffirm the strong alignment between HWFW tagged projects and country-driven priorities. Regarding the recommendation, we support the efforts to enhance monitoring and reporting mechanism, particularly in capturing co-benefits and ensuring better integration of health within climate finance programming. The evaluation also recognized the positive impact of sector guides in identifying paradigm shifting pathways. We have consistently supported these guides as essential tools for advancing climate resilient strategies that go beyond sectoral silos toward a more integrated nexus approach. However, we would appreciate further insight from the IEU on project-level outcomes, particularly how sectorial guides have been applied and whether paradigm-shifting pathways have been effectively pursued. Additionally, we seek clarity on how food safety and healthy food production are addressed beyond food security and how the private sector is engaged throughout supply chains. Furthermore, as already mentioned various times during this board meeting, even for this review, we encourage the fund to have discussion on complementarity and coherence with other climate finance actors, including MDBs, international financial institutions, and multilateral climate funds, to maximize synergies and avoid duplication on these issues. Finally, we see great potential in leveraging technological advancement, such as big data, artificial intelligence, and cloud-based solutions, to enhance climate-smart agriculture interventions and climate-resilient infrastructure in vulnerable regions. Thank you.
Thank you. I now give the floor to Henrik.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I'd like to thank the IEU for the evaluation and the Secretariat for the management response. I'd like to make 2 comments on climate reporting. The first one is on the issue of co-benefits and measuring climate impact there, where I welcome the Secretariat's response and the management response to seek to enhance methodologies, and I would encourage, similar to what the point I was making on another agenda item a couple of days ago, the Secretariat not just to learn from others, but indeed to lead the way as the largest multilateral climate fund in seeking to enhance climate methodologies, and so as not simply to state that there are co-benefits in either adaptation or mitigation, but actually lead the way in measuring them. Secondly, in response to Mohammed's point, I would take a different view that even though this is not an MDB, I've spent several years working on MDBs. There are differences, there are similarities. We're all working toward common climate impacts, and MDBs and multilateral climate funds and other international organizations could, should, and do learn from each other all the time. So I think there's no reason to refrain from considering this particular recommendation as a possibility and to constantly learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Henrik. I now give the floor to Natalia.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate Sorry, this thing moved. Sorry. We appreciate the IEU independent evaluation of the GCF result area on health and well-being and food and water security, which is the first evaluation of one of the 8 GCF result areas for investment, and thus the findings have broader implications for the way projects are tagged, results and impacts can or cannot be measured and aggregated, and guidance is provided or not to implementing partners. The IEU acknowledgement that its evaluation faced severe limitations in conducting the study points to one of the core dilemmas of the GCF investments in this results area and likely other result areas as well. While the tagged impact on the GCF project portfolio on health and well-being, food and water security is huge, with 153 projects and programs supported by $7 billion in GCF approved funding, and GCF stakeholders see these result areas as highly relevant for a paradigm shift the GCF wants to support in countries. Results cannot be clearly associated with this area. Among other reasons, this is due to a lack of a specific indicator on health outcomes in the IRMF, and we agree with and support the IEU recommendation to remedy this oversight in the planned IRMF review in 2026, as well as to ensure there is more consistency and relevance of all research areas with results and impact monitoring and reporting and broader GCF strategic goals. We're deeply troubled, but honestly not surprised by the finding of the IEU that there is little secretariat guidance to accredited entities and uneven and spotty reporting by accredited entities on the intended and realized gender and social equity benefits for marginalized groups, in particularly women, indigenous peoples, and youth, of funded interventions in well-being, in health and well-being, food and water security, but also in other results areas, and that therefore there is no systematic approach to aggregate and report on such benefits at the fund level to date. This becomes evident in reading the annual portfolio performance reports, which have next to no details on such realized gender and social inclusion outcomes. This is despite the centrality of realizing social, economic, and environmental co-benefits to sustain and safeguard lasting programming impacts long after funding has ended. Fixing this must be indeed a cross-cutting priority for the GCF. We fully concur with the IEU recommendations that adequate expertise on gender equality, social inclusion, indigenous peoples, and environmental co-benefits must be brought to project development in the results areas of health and well-being, water and food security specifically, and all result areas more broadly. This has also implications for the regional reorganization of the Secretariat and the possible establishment of regional offices, which need to see this expertise included in regional teams and on location. A particular focus be on strengthening project-level monitoring frameworks to report on gender, indigenous peoples, and social inclusion outcomes, including to capacity building and expert support provided to accredited entities as part of the Readiness and Preparatory Support Program. We welcome the Secretariat management response broadly, agreeing with the IEU findings and pointing out that its new Department of Monitoring, Evaluation, and Learning is focused in particular on addressing challenges in data management, including looking at the revision of reporting formats such as the annual performance report. This is obviously linked to the intended review of the monitoring and accountability framework. Mindful of the Secretariat's acknowledgement that gender, indigenous peoples, and social equity co-benefits are often underreported, it is clear that participatory monitoring, often mentioned but not realized by those that are to be the beneficiaries of such funded interventions, must be centrally strengthened by giving indigenous peoples, women, youth, and other often marginalized groups a role and voice in assessing whether benefits promised to them have been delivered. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. The speakers list is empty. Was there something that was a question directed to you? Yes? So I give you the floor to respond if there was something. Because
Thank you very much for your comment on the question from the floor. Just to answer the question from Victoria, in terms of the result from at the project level, this evaluation conducted 6 country case studies, and then our evaluation team visited many HWFW target projects. In the evaluation report, you will see various examples of emerging results from GCF funded activities which are tagged as HWFW. We certainly observe the emerging result from these projects, but again, as we mentioned in our presentation, at the fund level, there is no systematic approach to aggregate these results as a HWFW result areas. Also, we should note that most of the projects are still implementation stage, and then with a low disbursement rate. So it makes us difficult to report the aggregated result from this result area. And then also we observe most of accredited entities and countries are based on working on developing project based on the sectors, and then they acknowledge the sectorial guide released by Secretariat in 2022 to facilitate discussion with GCF Secretariat to develop the project. So this is a quick observation we found during our evaluation process.
Thank you very much. So I now invite the board to adopt the decision in Annex 1 to the document.